My deskmate was being bullied. Under pressure, I gathered evidence and sent the bully to the police station. My deskmate then turned around and issued a letter of forgiveness for the bully. As a result, the bully directed all their anger at me. I was cornered in an alley by a group of people and beaten to death. After being reborn, my deskmate cried to me about being bullied, and I smiled as I said to her, "I've heard that boys at this age express their affection by bullying the person they like. Could it be that he likes you? Otherwise, why would he only bully you?" Her face instantly flushed red to the tips of her ears. "Yes, that's right. Scumbags and bitches deserve to be locked together forever." I turned on the faucet, cupped my hands under the water, and splashed it fiercely onto my face. The icy cold tap water sent a shiver through me, but I couldn't help but laugh. This is not a dream. Just moments ago, I was reborn. Turning off the faucet, I hastily wiped the water from my face and left the bathroom. There weren't many students moving around outside, so when I reached the stairwell, I heard voices coming from the rooftop. It turns out I've returned to the day I discovered Su Tang was being bullied by Joey. In my past life, I followed the sound to the rooftop, chased away Joey and his followers, and took Su Tang to see the homeroom teacher. After listening to our story, the homeroom teacher said he would investigate while ushering us out of the office, but after we returned, we waited for a long time without ever hearing the results of his investigation. During that period, Joey's bullying of Su Tang grew increasingly severe. Having her hair cut, clothes torn, and being cornered in the bathroom were all part of Su Tang's daily routine. She said it was Joey's punishment for her reporting him. It was then that I realized just how much weight Joey's family carried, having donated 2 buildings, a sports field, and $1 billion to the school. So much weight that no one was willing to pay attention to a girl being bullied. The heroism of my youth clamored within me, so, under pressure, I gathered evidence of Joey bullying Su Tang and handed it over to the police. When the policewoman praised me for my bravery, I felt like a great hero, but 3 days later, reality plunged me into the depths. Su Tang issued a letter of understanding for Joey. I questioned Su Tang, trying to find even a hint of fear from being threatened in her eyes, but unfortunately, I found none. With a look of kindness, she told me that Joey was still a minor and shouldn't have his life tarnished. Suddenly, I felt utterly powerless, and the anger that was about to burst out turned into a bitter smile. The night I left the police station, Joey gathered a few of his buddies and cornered me in a deserted alley. I curled up in the corner, countless fists and kicks raining down on me. My life ended in that dark night. This was the price I paid for helping Su Tang. I can still feel the utter despair I felt just before my death. Clearly, I wasn't the one who did anything wrong, so why was I the one who ended up dead? So, when I found myself standing at the corner of the stairs once again, I didn't hesitate to choose to head toward the classroom. I want to cherish the second chance that heaven has given me, study hard, get into the university of my dreams, and live my life to the fullest. Su Tang entered the classroom just as the bell rang for class. I glanced at her. Her hair was slightly disheveled, the right side of her face was swollen and red, and her school uniform carried a faint, lingering scent of cigarette smoke. It was a bit unpleasant. I instinctively moved a little farther away from her, then opened my textbook and focused on the teacher's lecture. In my previous life, I spent almost every day thinking about how to help Su Tang and how to gather evidence of her being bullied, leaving me with no mind for studying. This caused my already average grades to plummet even further. In the last exam before my death, I ranked 3rd from the bottom in my class. A class period passed quickly, and during the break, I hurriedly organized the key points the teacher had explained into my notes. Just as I was halfway through, Su Tang tugged at the corner of my clothes. She turned her head, blinking her innocent deer-like eyes at me. I asked her in confusion, "Is something wrong?" Her eyes gradually turned red, but she didn't say a word. I tugged the corner of her clothes out of her hand. "If there's nothing, I'll go back to taking notes." After turning back to write a few words, she tugged at the corner of my clothes again. I ignored her and continued to focus on organizing my notes. When I finally finished, I realized she was still holding onto the corner of my clothes. A wave of irritation rose within me, and I pulled my clothes back with a bit more force. Unexpectedly, her tears began to flow instantly, her crying immediately drew strange looks from those around us, and my speechlessness was deafening. I didn't bully her, yet she led everyone to suspect me. I used to feel sorry for her because of her poor family background and went out of my way to help her. Kind and friendly to those who truly bully you, but harsh and aggressive toward those who help you. Su Tang, you really are something. Originally, after being reborn, I just wanted to focus on studying peacefully and stay out of her messy affairs, but since she wants to play it this way, fine, let's see who outplays whom. Coincidentally, the homeroom teacher entered the classroom just then. He saw Su Tang crying, but instead of showing the impatience he had when he kicked me out of his office in my previous life, he asked her with a kind expression, "What's wrong, Su Tang?" Su Tang glanced at me timidly, bit her lower lip, and shook her head. looking as if she dared not speak under my oppressive authority. What a performance! Suppressing my displeasure, I took the initiative. Teacher, when Su Tang came back from the break last class, she smelled of smoke. I suspect she went out to smoke. A student smoking at school is a serious matter, and the homeroom teacher's expression immediately turned stern. Su Tang quickly denied it. I didn't. Don't make baseless accusations. I pretended to cover my nose, but I really smelled it. If you don't believe me, teacher, you can ask the students around us. When the people around heard me shift the topic to them, they all averted their gazes. I know this group of classmates quite well. In my past life, it wasn't that I didn't seek help from others, it's just that no one agreed to help. They weren't wrong either. When faced with the choice of helping me or dealing with Joey, any sensible person would choose to keep their distance. The silence of those around us seemed, in the homeroom teacher's eyes, like tacit agreement. But that alone wasn't enough for the homeroom teacher to draw a conclusion. I feigned surprise and pointed at Su Tang's hem. Huh? Why does it look like there's a burn mark here, and there's ash on it too? Su Tang hurriedly covered her clothes. Now, without me having to say anything more, everyone turned their suspicious gazes back to Su Tang. The homeroom teacher tapped the podium with a knuckle. Su Tang, don't think that just because you have good grades, you can do things that violate school rules. After class, come with me to the office and explain what happened clearly. Su Tang nodded in agreement, looking wronged. But out of the corner of my eye, I saw her hands clenching tightly into fists. I sneered inwardly, feeling the sting of the needle on my own skin. Now you know it hurts. After class, before the homeroom teacher took Su Tang away, I seized the opportunity to get him to agree to move my seat to the very back row. As Su Tang left the classroom, she shot me a sharp glare. That look gave me the feeling that she had been dissatisfied with me for a long time. I unconsciously twirled the pen in my hand, replaying every detail of my interactions with her in my mind, but I couldn't recall doing anything to wrong her. Don't make so much noise, it's annoying. The clear, cold voice startled me. I immediately put down the pen and turned to apologize. Sorry, I almost forgot. In the last row of our class sits the top student of the entire school, Shin Sun, nicknamed Shin the First, on the very first day of school. He was assigned a seat at the very back by the teacher, claiming it was quieter and less likely to be disturbed, but now, the seat I'm sitting in is separated from his by several desks. I pouted. What a sensitive person indeed. However, upon second thought, this is the first semester of senior year. If I want to improve my grades before the college entrance exam, the genius sitting next to me is nothing short of a lifesaver. Coincidentally, I had a question I didn't quite understand, so I grabbed my exercise book and scurried over. I was just spinning my pen because I couldn't figure out this problem. Could you teach me? Once I solve it, I won't disturb you anymore. It'll only take a little bit of your time. Please. He looked up, giving me a look that said I was an idiot. I get it. To someone with high intelligence, someone like me with average smarts must seem like an idiot, but having already died once, what's there to fear from a mere look? I immediately met his gaze with a look that said, a dead pig fears no scalding water. He was taken aback by my stare, quickly averted his eyes, glanced at the problem a couple of times, and then began scribbling furiously on the draft paper. After finishing, he tore off that page, tucked it into the exercise book, and tossed it to me without even glancing my way again. I thanked him profusely, tucked the book under my arm, returned to my seat, and carefully studied the steps he had written for me. A top student is truly a top student. Their problem-solving approach instantly makes everything clear. Just as I put down my pen and was about to stretch, my deskmate in front of me looked at me with admiration. Is there something you need? She shook her head and then gave me a thumbs up. Jian Lai, you're the first person who's ever gotten Shin, the top student, to teach you a problem. Ha, her deskmate explained. No one can stand his gaze. You're the first. Just be a bit thick-skinned. Actually, he's a really good person. The methods he wrote for me are easy to understand and perfect for someone like me who isn't too bright. Do you want to take a look too? They both nodded eagerly. I handed Shinsun's draft paper over, and the two of them took it back like a treasure to study. After stretching comfortably, I saw Su Tang, who had just entered the classroom. Her eyes were red and swollen, clearly having cried hard. She must have been severely criticized by the homeroom teacher. Her gaze toward me grew even sharper. Was she blaming me again? In response, I shrugged at her. Actually, when I mentioned her smoking, she could have publicly brought up how Joey bullied her. Compared to her smoking, the fact that she was being bullied would have been far more convincing. In my previous life, I was the one who dragged her to find the homeroom teacher. This time, I didn't go, and she didn't say anything either. Could it be that she never intended to tell the teacher about this from the start? But what good could hiding the fact that she was bullied possibly bring her from Joey? I tapped my head. Forget it. I don't want to think about it anymore. People with twisted values are just hard to understand anyway. On the first day after my rebirth, I had a very fulfilling day. After school in the evening, I rushed out of the school gate with my backpack, full of excitement. From a distance, I saw my dad waiting at the usual spot. I made my way through the crowded crowd, walked up to him, and hugged his arm. He smiled and asked me, "What good thing happened to you today, little Jiang, you're being so clingy." I pouted, pretending to let go of him. Since Dad doesn't like me clinging to him, I'll just go home and cling to Mom instead. She must have made something delicious for dinner. Dad gently tapped my forehead. Such a smart mouth. We chatted and laughed for a while, and soon we arrived at the parking spot. Just as we got into the car, Dad suddenly remembered something. "Why didn't you come with your classmate today?" He was talking about Su Tang. Since becoming her deskmate in our senior year of high school, I've been trying to get closer to her by sharing food, drinks, and fun things with her. Seeing that no one came to pick her up after school every day, I generously offered her a ride in my dad's car. I smiled and replied to my dad. She said it's not good to trouble us all the time, so she won't be riding in our car anymore. My dad understood. She really is a proud kid. The car started and slowly drove away from the school. I suddenly felt a bit uneasy, as if someone was staring at me. However, when I looked at the crowd behind the car through the rearview mirror, I didn't notice anyone suspicious. After the car turned right at the intersection, this feeling finally disappeared. Squinting my eyes, I recalled what my dad had just said about her being strong-willed. Our school is a key high school, and most of the students come from well-off families. Since Su Tang behaved no differently from the others, I naturally assumed her family was also well off. But one night, after we dropped her off near her home, it suddenly started raining. Remembering she didn't have an umbrella and unsure how long she still had to walk, I asked my dad to turn the car around and bring her an umbrella. We circled the area for quite a while before finally spotting her entering an old residential complex nearby. I quickly grabbed the umbrella and got out of the car. When I ran over and handed her the umbrella, she didn't say thank you. Instead, she reminded me not to tell anyone she lived there. And later, she intentionally or unintentionally reminded me a few more times, to which I always responded with vague promises. Could it be that Su Tang hates me to the bone just because I know she lives in an old neighborhood, which hurt her pride? That's just too bizarre. After distancing myself from Su Tang, I felt much more refreshed overall. The classmates around me were easy to get along with, and although Shinsun still kept his distance from strangers, he would help me with questions when I asked. This is probably what they say online. When you spend time with positive people, your energy field becomes stronger. Although I was once killed by Su Tang and Joey, I've already avoided the risks in this lifetime. For things that haven't happened, I won't create imaginary enemies. It's just a pity that Su Tang doesn't see it that way. A few days later, she approached me during a class break. She originally wanted to pull me into the stairwell, but I was cautious and told her that if she had something to say, it was fine to talk in the classroom. She frowned and said it wasn't convenient, so in the end, we compromised and went outside the classroom. Go ahead, I still have some problems to finish. Jianlai, I want to explain what happened the other day. When the homeroom teacher singled me out like that, I was really scared and unconsciously looked at you. I thought you would help me, and it really wasn't my intention for everyone to misunderstand you. Is she here to make peace with me? But I don't quite believe it. If you have something to say, just say it. What's there to be afraid of? The homeroom teacher isn't going to eat anyone. Su Tang paused, feeling as if the words she had prepared were abruptly cut off by me. If there's nothing else, I'll head up first. Wait, she suddenly grabbed me. That day, I was actually the one being bullied. Is she expecting me to help her like I did in my past life, and then let me die again? What exactly does she want from Zhou? It can't be him himself, can it? I suddenly had a jolt. It's not impossible. I plan to test it out. Boy or girl, how did they bully you? Just minor teasing. Besides you, did they bully anyone else? Su Tang hesitated before replying. It's a boy, and he only picks on me. Hilarious. I can't believe I got it out of her so easily. I put on an innocent smile and said, I've heard that boys at this age show their affection by teasing the girl they like. Could it be that he likes you? Otherwise, why would he only pick on you? Su Tang raised her voice in a high-pitched tone. Where did you hear that? I raised an eyebrow. It's from Marguerite's diary in The Lady of the Camellias. It seems to me that, apart from your insults, which are proof of your constant love for me, the more you torment me, the more sublime I will appear in your eyes when you learn the truth one day. Su Tang's face instantly flushed red all the way to her ears. She had projected herself into the story. People really Should read more. With only a superficial understanding, it's easy to be led astray. I really envy you. Good grades, pretty looks, and boys chasing after you. Unlike me, it takes me a whole day just to solve one problem. When will I ever catch up to you? My words made Su Tang's face light up with joy. Jianlai, you're not bad either. She was quite pleased that I praised her, pleased that I admitted I wasn't as good as her. Well, since you enjoy hearing it, I'll be sure to say it more often. From now on, Su Tang acted as if nothing had happened, frequently coming to find me and even asking me to return to my original seat. Are you kidding? The seat next to Shindai has such great feng shui. In the recent monthly exam, I improved by a whole 3 places. How could I just leave it? Su Tang, you've always been in the top 5 of the class, so you don't understand the struggles of us average students. I can only treat myself like an ascetic, exiling myself, to achieve even the slightest bit of progress. You have no idea how much pressure I felt sitting next to you. Your brilliance is just too dazzling. Su Tang was delighted by what I said and stopped worrying about the seating issue, returning to her seat. Just as I lowered my head to continue working on the problem, Shindai's words fell beside my ear. Jianlai, keep your distance from her. It took me a moment to realize he was talking about Su Tang. I instinctively glanced at Su Tang, just in time to catch her not so friendly gaze directed at me, but she quickly looked away. Smart people really have a sharp eye for others. If only I could be that clever, I wouldn't have had to die once in my past life. Okay. Shindai handed me his monthly exam paper, asked me if there's anything you don't understand. I smiled and took it. Life went on uneventfully, and final exams were approaching soon. Everyone was studying hard. Even Su Tang hadn't come to see me for several days, and I was happy to memorize a few more English essays until one day, my deskmate mysteriously told me she had seen something unbelievable. Jianlai, quick, say princess, please speak, and I'll tell you. I lowered my head and continued translating classical Chinese. I saw Su Tang walking together with Joey. I quickly looked up. Where did you see them? What were they doing? I really hope it's not bullying. I don't want anyone else to die because of this. She gave me a look that said, I knew you'd want to know, just now. During the break at the snack shop, not just me, but a lot of people saw it. I bet everyone's talking about how those two ended up together. I felt as if I'd been struck by lightning. Su Tang actually got together with Joey. Even if it's Joey, there's less than half a year left until the college entrance exam. Is it really the right time to start a relationship now? I exchanged a glance with my deskmate in front of me, both of us seeing the disbelief in each other's eyes, while I was still in a daze. A hand suddenly reached over from the side, offering me a bottle of milk. I followed the hand and saw Su Tang smiling sweetly. Jianlai, you always used to bring snacks for me. Now, try the ones I bought for you. On her face, besides the sweetness, there was also a hint of showing off. Of course, I had to satisfy her. I generously accepted it and pretended to casually notice the bag she was holding. Are these for me too? Without waiting for her reply, I went to take the bags from her hands. Although she held on quite tightly, she couldn't withstand my boundless strength, and soon the bags were in my hands. Su Tang, you're so kind. These are all my favorites. Thank you. She could barely keep the smile on her face, said you're welcome, and ran off. The person in front of me gave me another thumbs up, and I handed her the snack bag. Here, have some. Jianlai, you're surprisingly generous. Joey was already a prominent figure at school, so news of him being with Su Tang spread quickly throughout the campus. Su Tang became famous overnight, and she came to talk to me less and less frequently, but whenever she did, the smugness on her face was impossible to hide. At that time, she really resembled a triumphant rooster, although I couldn't quite understand what she was competing with me for. Since she was so happy about it, I was more than willing to watch. In many Rebirth stories, the protagonist goes to great lengths to seek revenge. But in my case, I only need to watch quietly, without lifting a finger. She's perfectly capable of digging her own grave. Does she really think being with Joey is something good? Does she really believe that in everyone's eyes, they are some kind of praiseworthy fairy tale couple? When the final exam results came out, I moved up 2 more spots, ranking 20th in the class. My parents were so excited that they took me to a 5-star restaurant. Halfway through the meal, I went to the restroom and passed by a very noisy private room. The door wasn't closed properly, and out of curiosity, I glanced inside. The moment I saw Joey, my breathing became painful. The waitress nearby quickly came over to ask if I was okay. I shook my head and leaned against the wall with her support. The hallway was brightly lit, but I felt as if I were still lying in that alley, with no one to turn to for help. I leaned against the wall, taking a long time to recover. Just as I was about to leave, Joey's words reached my ears. Girlfriend, just for fun, she came to me. On her own, so why not? Besides, she's not bad looking. How did she come to me? I was smoking on the rooftop when she suddenly ran over and started lecturing me about how students shouldn't smoke. I couldn't stand it, so I slapped her. Later, I teased her a few more times, and unexpectedly, she confessed to me. I didn't agree at first, but she came right up, hugged me, and kissed me. I couldn't resist. Besides, she has a pretty face and a great figure, so I definitely didn't lose out. I clenched my fists tightly, so, from the very beginning, it was Su Tang who actively approached Joey. In her previous life, she knew full well that I had misunderstood, yet she offered no explanation and even went along with it, waiting until the situation had escalated to a point where it was nearly impossible for Joey to handle before finally stepping forward. She presented that letter of understanding, which sealed my fate but gave Joey a chance to survive. That way, she could use the favor of saving his life to gain benefits from Joey. There was never any bullying, it was all her scheming from start to finish. But if she wanted to be despicable on her own, why did she have to drag me down with her? But after all, she's my girlfriend now. If someone bullies her, I have to get back at them. Someone nearby teased, who dares to bully our sister-in-law, a woman named Jian Lai, I think. The reason I called everyone here today is to ask for your help. Find some time to teach this person a lesson. The scheming in the private room continued, and I was already boiling with rage. I never knew, whether in my past life or now, Su Tang wished for my death, and there I was, smiling and thinking that staying away from her would be fine. I really have to laugh at my own foolishness. The AQ spirit is perfectly embodied in me, even as slow as I am. I've come to understand many things. Su Tang is jealous of me. She excels academically and is also beautiful, so she feels superior to me. However, when she found out that my family lives in a large apartment in the city center and that my dad picks me up from school every night unless he is on a business trip or too busy to get away, I realized that my mother carefully prepared 3 meals a day for me and often made snacks for me to take to school. She began to realize that I had much more than she did, so she wanted to hold on to Joey, this powerful backer, to mend her shaky sense of superiority over me. It could even elevate her to great heights in one step. I picked up my phone and opened the chat with Su Tang. Su Tang, your birthday is coming up soon. What gift would you like? If she found out that Joey, her so-called pillar of support, isn't as reliable as she thought, what would she do? Anything is fine, as long as it's from you. I'll like it, really well. When the time comes and I give it to you, you better not dislike it. During the winter break, I was also working hard to improve my grades. Seeing how diligently I was studying, my dad said he had pulled some strings to find me a top student as a tutor. I happily gave him a hug, but when I saw that the tutor he found for me was Shinsun, I couldn't quite bring myself to smile. Shinsun dutifully took out the final exam papers to go over the questions with me, but I stopped him right away. Did your family go bankrupt? Are you working as a tutor to pay off debts? Shinsun rolled his eyes at me. Even if the school shuts down, my family would never go bankrupt. When your father visited my uncle's house, I happened to be there. Somehow, they started talking about their children's studies, and my uncle mentioned that I have good grades. Your father then chimed in, saying his daughter's grades weren't great, and asked if I could help with tutoring. I agreed. I bit the cap of my pen. Oh, so that's how it is. Thanks for your hard work. Shinsun adjusted his glasses. It's fine. Occasionally reviewing basic question types is quite good too. I pursed my lips and buried my head in the questions. Shinsun came over to tutor every morning, leaving homework for me to do in the afternoon, and returned the next day to review and explain it to me. The questions he left were really difficult for me. It felt like trying to force growth. But I didn't dare resist because the words that came from his 36 degrees Celsius mouth were colder than sub-zero weather. The days passed one by one, and in the blink of an eye, only 3 days remained until Su Tang's birthday. My deskmate often sent me WeChat messages, telling me about Su Tang and Joey. The two of them had been very affectionate lately, either going out to watch movies or hanging out at bars singing karaoke every day. Su Tang knew that Joey loved motorcycles, so she even accompanied him out to ride around the streets, going for a drive in the dead of winter. Just thinking about it makes me shiver. Su Tang really knows how to go all out. The person in front also mentioned Su Tang's birthday party. From the venue to the decorations to the invitations, all expenses were covered by Joey. Looking at it this way, it seems Joey still has some feelings for Su Tang. I took a taxi to the affluent district in the city and, following the address on my phone, found a villa. Pressing the doorbell, a servant politely opened the door and invited me upstairs. In the living room, Su Chi was already sitting on the sofa waiting for me, although we were the same age. Her every gesture carried a maturity different from ours. Go ahead, tell me what you came to see me for. I'll give you a reason why you don't have to marry into the Joe family. She gave me a look that said, you'd better convince me, and motioned for me to continue. I sat up straight and said, since you study at an international school, you might not be very familiar with our one high school. The topic that's been trending at our school lately is Joey's love life. Of course, you can easily find out about these things if you ask around. But what Joey is about to do next might not be so easy for you to learn. I took out my phone and played the audio I had recorded outside the private room at the restaurant last time. After listening, Suchi raised an eyebrow slightly. I didn't expect Joey to be quite good to his girlfriend. My right eyelid twitched twice. No way, no way. Could she actually be admiring Joey? Listen carefully. His kindness to his girlfriend is built on the foundation of dealing with me. Don't look at me with that expression, it's quite condescending. My heart finally settled. Thank goodness, thank goodness. When are they going to make their move? I shook my head. I don't know, but there's a perfect opportunity right now. 3 days from now is Su Tang's birthday party, and that group will most likely be there. Do you mean that even if they hadn't acted that day, you would have made them do it? If there's anything you need help with, just let me know. Got it. After the collaboration was settled, I was about to get up and leave when Suchi suddenly asked me, how did you know I didn't want an arranged marriage? I answered honestly, after hearing the rumors from the Joe and Su families, I searched for your information online and came across the speech you gave when you started high school. You said with great confidence, I entered as the top student in the entire school, and when I graduate, I will still be number one. The early comments all said you were arrogant, but later on, it was mostly just praise for you, because so far, you've ranked first in every exam in the school, so I thought you probably wouldn't want to become Mrs. Joe. CEO Su suits you better. She suddenly laughed. You're quite cute. I smiled back at her. Thank you for the compliment, CEO Su. After going out, I quickly hailed a taxi and went home. Some people are already preparing to seize power within their families at the age of 18, while others are still worried about not being able to solve problems and being scolded by their teachers. Su Tang's 18th birthday party was arranged at a private villa in the suburbs. At the entrance, a huge portrait of Su Tang was displayed, and the aisles on both sides were filled with vibrant, delicate roses. Su Tang, clad in designer clothes, held onto Joey's arm, beaming with a radiant smile. Upon seeing me, her expression froze for a moment before she flashed an even brighter smile than before. Jian Lai, did you put on makeup today? I almost didn't recognize you. It's the first time I've seen you dressed up so beautifully. There was a hint of blame, as if I had stolen the spotlight. Exactly. I practiced for a long time just to come to your birthday party. What can I say? You're my best friend. After all, not at all. I had my makeup done at a salon, and it was so expensive. It cost me 500 yuan. I'm already thrilled that you could make it, and I never expected you to dress up so beautifully. Bye. The way, let me introduce you, this is my boyfriend, Joey. I politely greeted him. Joey's gaze toward me wasn't exactly friendly. After all, in Su Tang's words, I was the villainess, along with Joey. His friends weren't exactly welcoming either. They stood behind Joey, casting rather sleazy looks my way. I guess they were probably the same ones from the private room last time. Suddenly, I regretted my outfit choice for today. After delivering the gift, I walked over to the buffet area. Nearby, I casually picked up a small cake and took a bite, pleasantly surprised to find that it tasted really good, so I ended up having a few more. My former deskmate leaned in close to me and gestured a 6 with her fingers. I heard Joey spent this much on this birthday party. My eyes widened as I covered my mouth. It wasn't shock, just a bit of pity. The 6-figure sum was probably going down the drain. As night slowly fell, the villa was brightly lit, the moment the fireworks exploded in the sky, the atmosphere reached its peak. Joey opened a bottle of champagne, and the wine mixed with foam splashed over the crowd. Then, someone opened a second bottle, a third. What a wild celebration. Even I, who had been hiding in the corner, ended up with splashes of alcohol on me. After eating another small cake, someone handed me a glass of wine. He raised an eyebrow. To quench your thirst. It was Joey's friend. I took the wine glass, offering a shy smile, my left hand unconsciously reaching up to touch my earlobe. The next second, I exclaimed in surprise, my earring is missing. Holding the wine glass, I bent down to search for it on the floor under the light, but unfortunately, I couldn't find it. After looking around, I looked pitifully at Joey's friend and said, what should I do? This earring was specially custom made by a master my mother found, and it's one of a kind in the world. My expression stirred some hormones in him. Don't worry, I'll help you look with that, he also bent down and began searching on the ground. I crouched down and slowly lifted the tablecloth. Inside the table, there was another glass of wine I had prepared earlier. Halfway through lifting the tablecloth, Su Tang's voice sounded behind me. Jen Lai, what are you doing? Could she have found out? My heart leaped into my throat, and for a moment, I forgot to breathe. Cold sweat broke out on my forehead. To calm myself, I gripped the tablecloth tightly in my hand, only letting go. After a long while, perhaps sensing that something was off with me, Su Tang walked over to my side. She extended her hand toward me, my earring lying clearly in her palm. Jen Lai, were you looking for this? My body tensed, my heart felt as if it were being squeezed, and fear nearly sent me into convulsions. The earring was clearly in my coat pocket, so why was it in her hand? Does she know what I plan to do tonight? No. It can't be. I prepared everything very discreetly. There's no way she could know. I straightened up with my head down, trembling as I took back the earring and placed it over my heart. Finally found it. Zhou Yi's friend chimed in at the right moment. Sis, where did you find it? We've been looking for a long time. Su Tang smiled. I just saw it in the changing room, so I brought it over right away. So it was just a coincidence, but I was truly careless, not even noticing that my earring had fallen out. I slowly let out a heavy sigh. Thank you, Su Tang. Before I could relax my tense body, Su Tang noticed the glass in my hand. What's this drink? Her gaze shifted between me and Zhou Yi's friend, a teasing sense of amusement bursting forth. Zhou Yi's friend wore a teasing smile. I invited her. Su Tang looked somewhat disappointed, but her words were dripping with malice. But the wine hasn't been touched at all. Jen Lai, he's Zhou Yi's friend. Could you do me a favor? Their gazes fixed on me like venomous snakes, and my hand holding the wine glass tightened unconsciously. But at the same time, I also breathed a sigh of relief. Su Chi found the friend who was with Zhou Yi at the restaurant that day. She had someone approach one of them and gave him some suggestions on how to make girls obedient. The person listened and took action. Originally, I wasn't sure if the drink in my hand had been tampered with. I planned to switch the drink, pretend to be too drunk after drinking it, and go back to the room with Zhou Yi's friend. That way, I could take them all down in one fell swoop. But now, Su Tang is forcing me to drink this glass of wine in a teasing tone. I'm almost certain there's something in it, so I don't need to act out the rest of the scene anymore. I moved closer to the window, making sure that the people outside could clearly see me tucking my hair behind my ear. This was the signal. Then, I gently shook my glass and smiled at the two of them, saying, sorry, I took some cephalosporin today, so I can't drink. Su Tang didn't respond, but Zhou Yi's friend's face immediately fell. I'm actually still a bit afraid of him. After all, he might have been one of the people who killed me in my past life. That alley was too dark. Besides recognizing Zhou Yi's voice, I couldn't even see the faces of the others. But now, I can only force myself to stay calm. Unlike in my previous life, someone will come to rescue me soon, so I have to hold on. Zhou Yi's friend walked over to me, not giving me any face. I didn't hold back. How could I? You've surely heard that mixing cephalosporin with alcohol can be fatal. Besides, no matter what, I'm your sister-in-law's good friend. Is this how you treat me? Su Tang chided me. Jen Lai, you're really something. If you didn't want to drink, you could have just said so. He's not a petty person. There's no need to make up such an excuse. I raised an eyebrow. You don't believe me? Do I have to take a sip for you to believe it? The wine rippled in waves. The two of them were about to speak again when I slowly brought the wine glass to my lips and asked with a pitiful tone, do you really want me to drink this? Just as the glass was about to touch my lips, a flicker of excitement flashed in Su Tang's eyes. At that moment, the villa's front door was forcefully kicked open, and a group of heavily armed SWAT officers stormed in. Everyone stand still. Don't move. Su Tang's expression instantly froze on her face. The villa fell silent at once. After all, these were all students who had just come of age. No matter how wealthy their families were, none of them had ever witnessed such a scene. After the SWAT team searched around and seemed to find nothing, someone began packing the alcohol into boxes. Opened bottles, unopened bottles, all were loaded up, including the one in my hand. Even the glass was taken away. I finally felt a sense of relief, not in vain for holding the glass in my hand the whole time, afraid it might spill or splash. Before the test results came out, all of us were kept in the villa. The entire villa was tightly surrounded by special police, with no one able to come up or go out. The night grew deeper, and my deskmate couldn't hold on any longer. Leaning drowsily on my shoulder, I glanced around. Most people were angry but didn't dare speak up. Who would have thought that attending a birthday party would lead to a search by special police? The birthday girl, Su Tang, nestled in Zhou Yi's arms, but Zhou Yi seemed somewhat distracted. He should be worried. This villa is his. The scene setup contract was signed by him, and the drinks were brought by him. Essentially, if anything goes wrong here, he will be held fully responsible. Moreover, he is well aware that his friend brought contraband, and he even knows the purpose of that contraband. That contraband is enough for the police to arrest all of them, so, whatever punishment he receives, he deserves it. I don't know how much time had passed before someone finally opened the main door, following behind the special police were everyone's parents. My Deskmate's tears immediately began to flow as she stumbled toward her own parents. It was never my intention to drag innocent people into this, but even more deserving of death are the masterminds behind this incident. I was the last one to come out. Although I had informed my parents in advance, they still looked worried, with faint dark circles under their eyes, likely having stayed awake all night. Upon seeing me, they hurried over and asked if I was okay. I gently held my mother's trembling hand and said, "Mom, I'm fine." She hugged me tightly in her arms and said, "It's good that you're okay. It's good that you're okay." I hugged my mom back, and then I saw Shinsun standing behind her. My heart skipped a beat. Did he really come all the way here to check my homework? Mom seemed to remember Shinsun too. She let go of me and said, "Shinsun came very early today. He came with us as soon as the police notified us." I apologized to him sheepishly. "I haven't done yesterday's homework yet. It's fine. Go back and rest first." Shinsun's expression was very serious, not like he was joking, but he was right. I hadn't slept all night, and in such a lethargic state, I couldn't attend class anyway. Before leaving, I glanced back and happened to meet Su Tang's gaze from inside the door. Jealousy, resentment, and confusion intertwined in her eyes. I smiled at her, turned around, and walked out with my arms linked with my parents. Behind me, the villa's door slammed shut with a thud. From this moment on, everyone who threatens my life will rot in prison. Joey was released on bail, unexpected, yet within reason. He shifted all the blame onto Su Tang. The Zhou family, true to their business-minded nature, didn't go after Su Tang directly. Instead, they approached her family. The conditions offered by the Zhou family were simply impossible for the Su family to refuse, so, whether Su Tang was willing or not, she had no choice but to sign her name on the day Su Tang moved in. The Su family relocated to the hottest real estate development in the city center. On the same day, Zhou was released from detention and sent abroad by the Zhou family. As for the Su family, they gave up on the idea of forming a marriage alliance with the Zhou family. Su Qi took the opportunity to secure a major project from the Zhou family. It seems like everyone benefited from this matter except Su Tang. I received a call from Su Tang wanting to see me, but I refused without a second thought. What would be the point of meeting her? To listen to her talk about how miserable her past life was and how she had no choice but to harm me. Then why didn't she harm Joey instead? His circumstances are far better than mine. Or perhaps to listen to her confession, saying she regrets that her jealousy of me led her into the abyss. But I didn't come back from Rebirth just to hear her say I'm sorry, as if unwilling to give up. She even sent me a letter. When I saw the sender's name, I immediately threw it into the trash. On New Year's Eve, the three of us sat in the living room, staying up to welcome the new year. On the last New Year's Eve, I lay in the alley, gazing at the distant lights of countless homes. Back then, I was still complaining, wondering why not a single ray of light could reach me. Fortunately, I pulled myself out of the mire. A warm house, bright lights, and beloved family. I have it all. In the blink of an eye, the new semester began. In the placement test at the start of the semester, I made significant progress, proving that Shinsun's efforts in nurturing me were not in vain. At the 100-day pledge rally before the college entrance exam, the teacher asked everyone to write down their desired universities, seal them in envelopes, and place them in the safe at the back of the classroom. I earnestly wrote down the Beijing University of Political Science and Law, majoring in law. With my current ranking in the top 10 of the class, if I push myself, I can definitely make it. Actually, I'm not doing too badly either. After all, I'm a student in a key class at a prestigious high school. Time flew by as I immersed myself in studying, often forgetting to eat and sleep. In the blink of an eye, the day of the college entrance exam arrived. Mom wore a cheongsam and held sunflowers as she came to see me off for the exam. Dad remained silent the whole way, only telling me to stay calm before I entered the exam hall. I gave each of them a hug, then turned and walked toward the exam hall. Wait for my good news. I was admitted to my dream school with a score 20 points above the cutoff line. My parents were very supportive of my choice. They have always supported me, striving to create good living conditions for me and shielding me from the wind and rain. Shinsun received a full scholarship to Stanford, while Su Qi, who originally wanted to study abroad, chose Tsinghua University instead. It's not hard to understand why she made such a choice. If she didn't stay in the country, she wouldn't be able to take care of the Sue family. However, she was a bit curious about why I chose to study law. I smiled and told her, in the future, you'll be responsible for taking over the Joe family, and I'll be responsible for sending all the Joe family members to prison. We looked at each other and smiled. 6 years later, at the customs of Jamshire International Airport, I approached Joey, who had just cleared customs, and presented the arrest warrant. I am John Lai, a prosecutor from the Jamshire People's Procuratorate. I now suspect you are involved in the corruption case of Joe Enterprises. Please come with us. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. My best friend has been having a string of bad luck lately, so she found a live-streaming wizard to perform a ritual to resolve it. During the ritual, the wizard suddenly asked, You have a friend named Sarah. She's been married for 3 years but hasn't been able to conceive. My friend was startled. Master, you're so accurate. That's exactly right. The wizard continued. She is already pregnant, but she cannot keep the child. This is a major calamity in her fate. Have her come to see me as soon as possible. My face turned pale because Sarah is me, but I quickly regained my composure. It was true that I hadn't been pregnant for 3 years, but the part about being pregnant was false. Since getting married, my husband Jack and I have made countless efforts to conceive. We tried everything, taking supplements, exercising regularly, timing it right, adjusting positions, and even tried those pop-up ad posts over and over again, but this child just wasn't meant to be. After my best friend finished her live stream, she came to me to talk about what the fortune teller said tonight. Sarah, this person is amazing. I didn't say anything, and he could tell I have such a friend and even knew you've been troubled by the pregnancy issue for a long time. My best friend exclaimed in endless amazement. I just laughed. He's probably just a half-baked charlatan. Don't take it too seriously. I take pregnancy tests every day, and there's definitely no child like he said. If there really was, I'd kowtow to him on the spot. My best friend sent a helpless emoji and ended the conversation. I didn't take it to heart, just treated it as a brief farce, but soon enough, I was proven wrong. 10 days later, I stared blankly at the pregnancy test in my hand. 2 clear red lines were printed on it. My vision gradually blurred, and my hands trembled uncontrollably. Really? Pregnant? I screamed and rushed out the door, tears streaming down my face uncontrollably. Jack heard the scream and hurried toward me. What's wrong? Honey, why are you crying? I excitedly held up the pregnancy test. Jack, I'm pregnant. I really am. Jack's expression shifted from worry to joy, and he couldn't resist picking me up and spinning me around. I quickly patted his arm to let me down. The baby is still fragile in the early stages, and we need to be careful with everything. All right. The baby is still small. We can't be too rough. I smiled affectionately while touching my flat belly, as if I were already holding a little bundle in my arms. I shared the good news with my best friend, but she quickly replied with a few question marks. Could it be that I'm pregnant? What that wizard said that day, could it actually be true? Sarah, I'm breaking out in a cold sweat right now. My best friend was shocked. I instantly calmed down as well. 10 days ago, I dismissed those words as a joke, but now, 10 days later, it has actually come true. No matter how I think about it, this can't be a coincidence. How could something I've been trying to achieve for 3 years without success be guessed so accurately just like that? Listen to advice, and you'll have a full meal. I asked my best friend for Sam's contact information, added his account, and took a screenshot of his fortune-telling link. Sam, I'm Sarah. About what you said to my best friend during the live stream the other day, I want to ask how you knew. I got straight to the point. Sam pondered for a moment. People in this line of work inevitably need to consider the circumstances of those around them to fully explain the cause and effect. But while performing the ritual, I unintentionally saw that half of your fate has turned dark. This is an extremely ominous sign. You are facing a major calamity in the near future that must be resolved. My heart skipped several beats upon hearing this. Then, what should I do? I asked anxiously. You absolutely cannot have this child. If you do, you won't make it through. If you're gone, everything is lost. The child cannot be kept. But I worked so hard for 3 years to conceive this child. I just can't bear to lose it. I haven't even felt its kicks yet. I've been longing so much to be a mother. Can we not harm the child? I asked. Then you will die, Sam said bluntly. I couldn't hold back my tears. Master, please think of another way. My husband and I are truly happy and deeply in love. Our marriage is perfect in every way except for the lack of a lively, cheerful child. If it's just gone like this, what will we do in the future? The master sighed. Do you really think there's nothing wrong with this marriage of yours? What does this mean? I wiped away my tears, completely failing to grasp the master's Meaning, the biggest problem in your marriage is your husband, Jack. Is he always obedient to you, gentle with others, never argues or bickers, and never contradicts you? To others, he might seem like the perfect husband, capable of earning money and devoted to the family, but in your husband's case, there's only one explanation: he doesn't dare to offend you. He's afraid of losing the favorable fate he's been searching for so long. Sarah, Jack is good to you not because he loves you, but because he needs you, your life. These words struck me like a thunderbolt, and I even doubted my own ears. Master, what nonsense are you talking, Jack? How could that be? I couldn't believe it. After the shock wore off, all that remained was anger, and my rage instantly reached its peak. Sam, seeing that I didn't believe him, immediately blurted out, "Since you got married, has your husband been wearing a piece of jade? It's not the usual color, it's grayish-black, isn't it?" This was true. Jack did wear one, and the color matched exactly what he described. That jade contains the spirit of a deceased woman. If you don't believe me, try touching it and see how Jack reacts, then you'll know if there's something wrong with this man. Just as I was about to press for more details, the sound of the electronic lock echoed from the front door. Jack had returned. I almost frantically ended the live stream, stood up, composed myself, and went to greet him. "Are you back? Were you tired today?" I asked with concern. Jack shook his head and kissed me on the cheek. "Not tired. It's enough to come home and see you and the baby. The baby hasn't even arrived yet, and you're already so happy." As I spoke, I couldn't help but stare at the jade pendant on his chest, just as the master said. It's gray with a hint of black. I had never really looked at it carefully before, and there are a few tiny cracks on it. "Honey, who gave you this jade? I've always seen you carrying it, treating it like it's more precious than a treasure." As I spoke, I reached up to touch it, but Jack turned his head and dodged my hand. "When I was a child, I was often sick. My mom specially asked for it, saying it would protect my health and keep me safe, and told me to always carry it," Jack said as he walked. "Actually, it's not difficult to move this jade. Every night before he takes a bath, he takes it off and puts it in a special small box, then grabs his clothes and goes into shower." I was half convinced by Sam's words, but to really confirm it, why not just give it a try? So that evening, when Jack went in to shower, I walked to the table, picked up the jade, and examined it carefully in my hand. There was nothing particularly special about it, except the color was a bit unusual. Its shape and size were no different from ordinary jade, but Sam said that inside it was locked the soul of a woman. A woman. Where did this woman come from? Just as I was pondering, the bathroom door opened, and Jack walked out wearing a bathrobe. I was holding a small cloth, wiping the jade pendant. Unexpectedly, the next second, Jack's face turned pale and grim. He rushed over in a few quick steps, violently snatched the jade away. The force was so strong that the rope slipped from my hand, feeling as if it had been sharply cut by a knife. "What are you doing?" Jack roared. My palm was trembling with pain, and I was also stunned by his out-of-control demeanor. Jack frowned and confirmed that the jade pendant in his hand was fine, only then realizing how out of control his actions had been. With that sudden pull just now, my palm was cut, and blood was continuously seeping out. It hurt, but not as much as the pain in my heart. After being married for so long, it was the first time I saw the usually gentle and calm Jack lose his temper, and it was over an object, while I was merely wiping it with a cloth. But his agitation instantly made me feel as if I had fallen into an ice cellar, a bone-chilling cold rising from the soles of my feet. Suddenly, Sam's voice echoed in my mind. "If you don't believe me, just try it and see if he reacts." He was right, almost as if he had predicted it perfectly. Jack put down the items and returned to his usual self, holding me tightly with an apologetic tone. I'm sorry, honey, I was just too anxious. This jade pendant was given to me by my parents. I've worn it since I was a child and have a deep emotional attachment to it. I was just afraid you might accidentally break it, so I panicked." And the man raised my hand, lowered his head, and gently kissed my wound, while I trembled uncontrollably. "Does it hurt? I'll get the first aid kit to treat it for you." He looked at me with concern. I looked at him with grievance, and then couldn't hold back any longer, bursting into tears. You actually got angry with me over a jade pendant. I want a divorce, Jack." A flicker of gloom passed through Jack's eyes, but it quickly faded. He immediately pulled me to sit down, then half knelt in front of me, continuously coaxing and apologizing. "I really didn't mean it. Honey, hit me if you want, do whatever you want, just don't mention divorce, okay? Be good." I listened to his heartfelt words while sobbing, but deep down, I had already grown somewhat resentful. After a brief argument, Jack thought he had coaxed me back to normal, and everything was restored as before. Only I knew that all of this could never go back to the way it was. It seemed Like Sam had anticipated that I would go to the live stream to find him, he had already set up a private room in advance and sent me a password via private message. After I entered the password and joined, he was already online on video. The screen was pitch black, with no one in sight, only faintly could one see incense and candles placed on a table not far away, flickering with flames. As I took a screenshot of the link and leaned in for a closer look, a human face suddenly dropped in front of the screen, with a slender face, sharp features, and an astonishingly pale complexion, paired with his slightly reddened lips. It nearly made me scream. I thought Sam would be the kind of elder with a dignified appearance and a full white beard, but I never expected him to be so young, looking about the same age as me, yet with profound skills and astonishing accuracy. "Sarah, I'm Sam." He sat down holding a tuxedo cat, stroking it idly, then spoke again. "So, did you confirm it?" I nodded heavily. "You're right." He did react strongly, completely unlike his usual self. "This is the first time I've seen him so furious, and all because I touched it." Sam chuckled lightly. "Of course he's afraid. To put it bluntly, that jade pendant is a container for a spirit. If it breaks, it would cause that woman's soul to scatter, and even if Jack wanted to save her, he couldn't. She would never be reincarnated. What kind of woman is she?" I was burning with curiosity. There's a saying that goes, "Every man has a white moonlight in his heart, and your husband is no exception." Sam said this while looking at me, his gaze intense. He spoke with such certainty that I almost suspected he too had someone he loved but couldn't have. "What does that have to do with my child?" I was still puzzled. "He's waiting for the day you give birth to have someone tamper with your fate." When a woman gives birth, the mother's body is at its weakest. Not only can he easily swap fates, but he can also create the illusion that you died in childbirth, taking two lives with you. By then, no one would suspect anything. They'd just think you truly died during labor. What a perfect plan, isn't it? Sam said it so lightly, but I was already covered in chills, with goosebumps rising all over my body. At that moment, footsteps suddenly sounded from behind. As I instinctively turned around, a pair of hands rested on my shoulders. The man leaned down and said, "What are you doing, honey?" In an instant, my heart not only leaped to my throat, but also began to pound wildly and violently. As I turned around, I saw Jack's half-smiling eyes, but all I felt was fear. I dug my nails deeply into my wrist, the pain distracting me from my overwhelming fear. An instinctive reaction left my entire body frozen stiff. Jack removed one of my ears, curiously hanging it on his own, then stared intently at the livestream screen. Sam hadn't anticipated this scene either, but his mind worked faster than mine. He quickly pulled out a yellow talisman, squinted his eyes while reciting an incantation, and then spoke in a deep voice, "Miss Sarah, this pregnancy protection talisman has been blessed and consecrated. Your baby will surely be born healthy and safe, so please rest assured. It's best to reduce anxiety in your daily life and pay more attention to rest, as it is very beneficial for nurturing the pregnancy." Sam waved it in front of the screen and then, with great seriousness, actually placed it into an airtight bag. I quickly nodded in agreement, cleared my throat, and said, "I'm performing a pregnancy protection ritual recommended by Heidi. Ever since I became pregnant, I haven't been sleeping well. I have long, restless nights and often worry that the baby isn't stable." Heidi said this master is very effective, and customers line up for his services. I finally managed to get an appointment. Jack smiled helplessly, took off his headphones, and gently tapped the tip of my nose. "Honey, why have you become so superstitious since getting pregnant? Didn't the prenatal checkup say everything was fine? Don't scare yourself like this. I'm just doing this for the baby's health." "What? Do you not like this child?" I asked pointedly. Jack quickly changed his expression. "I want this child to be born healthy and safe more than anyone. Don't be so sentimental, little mom-to-be. Getting plenty of rest is what matters most." The moment he turned around, I curled a cold smile. "Yes, you, more than anyone, wish to see the moment the child is born, only for both mother and child to perish after sharing a bed for 3 years. I never imagined he would be such a sinister, cunning, and deceitful scoundrel." "Jack, since you show no mercy, don't blame me for being ruthless." I quickly contacted Sam again. That day, I ended the live stream in a hurry, and just as I was in the middle of speaking, Jack suddenly returned. I can't figure out what's on his mind. Every day I see him now feels like a ticking time bomb, and I never know when it might explode, so I sent Sam a private message to get his contact information and added him as a friend. "Master, if I may ask, where are you? If it's convenient, could we meet in person to talk?" Initially, Heidi was looking for a local live fortune-telling master, thinking that if there was a need, she could go offline to get a necessary talisman to ward off bad luck and ensure safety. Sam quickly sent an address, which wasn't far but located in the suburbs, about a 20-minute drive away. The next day was my scheduled prenatal checkup. Jack originally intended to accompany me, but this was a good opportunity. Perhaps heaven was helping me. Jack's company had an urgent matter, and when he hesitantly looked at me, I quickly put on a gentle smile to reassure him and let him go. Coincidentally, my best friend Heidi happened to be free to accompany me. Then be careful on the road, drive slowly, and don't rush. Jack touched my forehead before finally leaving with peace of mind. The moment the door closed, a nauseating feeling surged over me. I raised my hand and vigorously wiped the spot he had just kissed, rubbing it until it nearly turned red and swollen. Before stopping, I sent Heidi a message, telling her to wait for me, and quickly drove back to meet up with her. As Heidi got into the car, she was carrying bags of nutritional supplements and enthusiastically introduced them to me, seemingly having forgotten the incident from the last livestream. When I saw those supplements, I couldn't help but feel my eyes welling up. Heidi spoke for a while and, noticing I wasn't responding, looked up to see my solemn expression. "Sarah, what's wrong with you?" Heidi was startled. "Do you remember what that master said to you during the last livestream? He said this child cannot be born, that it's a major calamity in my fate and needs to be resolved." Heidi nodded. "But didn't you say he was just a half-baked charlatan and not to take it too seriously?" I shook my head. "No, what he said is all true. This child and I are not meant to be. I need to find a time to get rid of it as soon as possible and divorce Jack, staying as far away from him as possible." What does it have to do with your husband?" Heidi was completely puzzled. She thought there might be some health issue with the baby in her womb and had to give it up. I told Heidi everything about what happened later with Sam. The more she listened, the paler her face became, and her lips trembled uncontrollably. In the end, she covered her mouth to keep from screaming. "This is terrifying. You can know a person's face but not their heart. You and Jack have been married for so many years, and you never got pregnant. He never pressured you and remained so emotionally stable. It's shocking. Who would have thought he was doing something so sinister behind the scenes?" All the way, Heidi kept sighing incessantly, muttering that I had met the wrong person. When I met Sam offline, I still couldn't help but feel surprised. He looked genuinely too young, completely different from the stereotypical image of a wizard I had in mind. The man was sitting cross-legged in a white Taoist robe, his fingers methodically moving a string of beads. The room carried a faint scent of incense. The sound of us pushing the door open didn't disturb him either. It wasn't until we had just sat down that he opened his eyes. For a moment, his gaze wavered slightly as he looked at me, and my nerves twitched along with it, pulling with a surprising pain. "Master, you look very familiar to me," I said, looking at him and suddenly blurting out these words. Sam was taken aback for a moment, then curled the corners of his mouth into a faint smile. He probably thought it was absurd, and I did too. How on earth did those words just pop out of my mouth? Heidi couldn't help but give me a shove. "What nonsense are you talking about? Give me your husband's birth details," Sam said, reaching out his hand. I lowered my head, took a piece of paper from my bag, and handed it to him. "We had agreed beforehand to remember to bring Jack's birth details." Sam looked down, his fingers moving the prayer beads faster and faster, his lips slightly parted as he murmured an unknown incantation. Then, I watched helplessly as the paper with Jack's birth details in Sam's hand emitted a puff of smoke, followed by a sudden burst of flame, until it finally turned to ashes. My eyes widened in shock. It's similar to what I calculated before. A normal person's birth details wouldn't catch fire for no reason, unless they aren't human to begin with. I held my breath. Sam continued. "Jack's birth chart indicated he would be sickly for the first 10 years of his life. Normally, he wouldn't have made it to this day, but at a certain point, he connected with someone from the underworld, found a suitable fate to replace his own, and that's how he managed to survive until now. And the person whose fate he replaced would die early in his place. In simple terms, it's an exchange of lives." Heidi and I both turned deathly pale, trembling as we held each other tightly. "Everyone has their own fate, and we should follow the rules of this world. But Jack actually did all these heinous things. Doesn't he fear that one day it will backfire on him?" I asked. Sam shook his head. "The clever thing about him is that, in order to live comfortably in this world, he has taken an extreme path and started a business that straddles both the light and dark sides. Jack's logistics company appears to operate normally, but in reality, it sells the fates of those who were originally destined for peace, health, successful careers, and happy families, offering them as sacrifices and supplements for the wealthy, and those people would rapidly perish due to sudden physical changes, going from life to death in just 2 short days, mostly dying from accidents that ordinary people wouldn't notice. Friends and family have no choice but to painfully accept it, with no other options." After hearing I was so suffocated I couldn't speak. If it weren't for Heidi's superstition and insistence on finding a master to reverse her bad luck, I would have been kept in the dark and become the next sacrificial offering. Master, help me. I want Jack to die a miserable death. From the moment I left Sam's place until I got home, I was deeply troubled. Heidi also took a while to digest what had just been said, and we both felt nauseous in silent agreement. It's okay, Sarah, since Sam could foresee it. He can help you avoid this disaster. It's better to let go of that scumbag's child. The sooner you leave, the sooner you'll be free. Heidi was also quite shaken, but she held my hand to comfort me, even though her hand was as cold as ice. When I returned home in the evening, my expression still looked off. I tried to compose myself for a long time at the doorstep, but I still couldn't manage to do so. Jack was already at home and, hearing the noise, came toward me. As usual, he thoughtfully took the bag from my hand and set it aside. How was the prenatal checkup? Why do you look so pale? Jack said, reaching out to touch my forehead to check my temperature. The prenatal checkup wasn't very good. The doctor said the baby is developing a bit slowly and might need further observation. What if we can't keep the baby? I said, staring at Jack. The man's arm around my shoulder tightened silently. No, the baby will be fine. No matter how much it costs, we'll make sure to keep the baby safe. Until birth, I lowered my head and smiled, and tears immediately fell uncontrollably. In the end, I was the one who looked foolish. This was my last attempt to test Jack, and as expected, he showed not a shred of conscience. No matter what, it was still his child, but in Jack's eyes, it was just an object, something to be sold. Jack, you're going to be a great dad someday. My tearful expression made him think I was moved. Before taking a shower at night, Jack habitually took off his jade pendant. I lay on the bed, gazing at him pensively, and he happened to look back at me. What are you looking at me for? Guarding against thieves? Who would bother cleaning that thing for you anyway? I pretended to be angry and averted my gaze. Jack smiled ingratiatingly. Hey, still upset about what happened last time? You women are so petty. He let his guard down and, as usual, placed the jade pendant back into the box before going in to take a shower. I stared thoughtfully at Jack's retreating figure. As he went inside, the next day, taking advantage of Jack's absence, I quickly packed a few of my belongings and rushed back to my parents' home that very night. With my arms full of bags and a resolute look, my sensitive parents immediately sensed that something must have happened. As soon as I saw my closest family, I couldn't hold back my tears and burst into sobs. What's wrong? Did you have a fight with Jack? My mom quickly hugged me to comfort me. Mom, I was truly blind back then. Jack is a complete madman. I cried and poured out my heart, telling them everything that had happened with Sam over the past few days. At first, they thought I had been deceived, but the more they listened, the more they realized it was all true. No one could have imagined that Jack, who seemed like a decent man on the surface, was actually a complete scumbag, toying with who knows how many lives. As the only child in the family, my parents' future depends on me, and they believed what I said. Divorce. We must divorce, and get rid of the child immediately. My father was so angry that his blood pressure almost spiked. Although the Don family wasn't from a prestigious or noble background, they were at least quite well off financially. They worked hard their entire lives to ensure a good future for their children, so they were always frugal and saved diligently, leaving me with a decent family foundation. That night, when Jack couldn't find me, he indeed started to panic. He sent me countless messages and made countless voice calls, all of which I ignored. I only replied to him with one sentence: divorce, don't look for me again. If you want to use my life to revive your white moonlight, you can forget about it for the rest of your life. Jack's messages stopped coming, and his calls fell silent as well. I just assumed he had given up and didn't pay any more attention to such emotionally draining matters. I lay in bed for a long time unable to fall asleep, so I got up, threw on a coat, and decided to step outside for some fresh air. Our home is a small, detached courtyard. As I opened the door and stepped into the yard, I heard a faint rustling sound behind me. The moment I turned my head, I saw Jack's face, which looked incredibly sinister in the darkness. He had lost his usual gentle expression and appeared eerie all over, like a ghost coming to claim a life in the dead of night. Before I could even cry out, a sharp pain shot through my neck, and everything went black as I completely lost consciousness. When I woke up again, I felt myself being jolted violently. After finally adjusting to my surroundings, I realized my hands and feet were tied, and I was lying on the back seat of a car. My mouth was sealed with several layers of tape, allowing me to only make muffled MMPH sounds. MMPH, Jack. I struggled to call out to the man driving in the front. He heard the sound and looked up calmly, his gaze in the rearview mirror like a leopard ready to hunt, sinister, fierce, and cold-blooded. Then he stepped on the Accelerator, and the car sped up so fast it felt like I was about to be thrown out. The man suddenly slammed the steering wheel in a fit of rage, frantically running his hands through his hair. "You know everything. How did you find out?" Jack couldn't figure it out. Damn it, just a little more time, and Rose could have come back to me, to be with me for the rest of her life. What is your life worth? If it weren't for your positive young fate being beneficial to Rose, you'd just be a worthless life, not even worth selling for a decent price. Jack no longer pretended, completely tearing off that gentle and refined mask, revealing his true brutal nature. The louder I moaned, the faster he pressed the accelerator until we stopped in front of a small cabin. He got out of the car, dragged me out of the back seat like a chick, and threw me onto the sofa. Jack stood before me, reaching out to tear off the duct tape, using such brute force that it hurt me. Scum, I winced in pain, but still couldn't resist cursing. Jack laughed, even at death's door. "You're still so stubborn. Have I been too good to you in the past? Too lenient?" I had it all planned out. With just a little manipulation at that moment, you would have died easily, and my Rose would have been revived. But now you've completely ruined my plan. But it doesn't matter. I'll figure something out for the future. It's inevitable that you'll be the sacrifice for Rose. If we can't wait until that day, then today will be your Memorial Day. Jack tore off the black cloth blocking the way, and only then did I see a table placed inside. In the center was a black and white photo of a woman, smiling very sweetly. Surrounding it were circles of incense candles and a spirit-summoning bell. Jack carefully removed the jade pendant from his neck, lowered his head to give it a deep kiss, and placed it into the container. "Rose, I'll be able to see you soon," Jack said as he picked up the soul-summoning bell, shaking it while chanting an eerie melody. He then took a black talisman and recited, "7 souls depart, 8 spirits enter, the living pass, the dead return." With a snap, he pressed it onto my forehead, as if under control. My entire body trembled uncontrollably. Life seems to truly have come to an end. Jack laughed maniacally as he walked toward the container holding the jade pendant. He intended to smash it with his own hands, releasing the woman's spirit to completely devour my fate and replace me as a living person in this world. The man picked it up and smashed it frantically onto the ground, spreading his hands in anticipation of a beautiful scene. After waiting for a long while, he still hadn't seen it, but the jade pendant was indeed completely shattered. The imagined soul, however, did not truly emerge. I stopped trembling and returned to my normal state, sitting up from the sofa, my hands already freed from their restraints. Hidden in my sleeve was a blade I had prepared in advance. Sam had anticipated that Jack would resort to desperate measures. He would not spare my life. Years of searching had been for someone like me, with a life destined for smooth sailing, a fate of pure young energy. Jack looked at me in astonishment. You, he stammered incoherently. Yes, I should have fainted again, but he miscalculated, because Sam had already anticipated it. I pulled open my clothes, revealing a yellow talisman that Sam had already affixed for me. Sam set up a formation for me and made a divination decision, completely deflecting all the dark curses Jack had cast on me. "This is impossible," Jack roared in fury. "And this?" I pulled off the jade pendant I was wearing around my neck, the grayish-black one with faint patterns, the one that served as a container for Rose's lingering spirit. The one Jack had just smashed was a fake. I had swapped it out the night I left. Sam anticipated Jack's impatience. He knew Jack would target me, so he made preparations for me in advance. Although young, his magical skills are truly exceptional. Every prediction he makes is accurate. I said I wanted Jack to die a miserable death, not an easy one. Jack should pay for all he has done over the years. "You bitch." Jack's tall frame trembled with rage, his face flushed crimson. Like a wild beast, he lunged at me, trying to snatch the jade pendant, but it was already useless. Sam had long sealed the woman's spirit with a lock, and unless she reached the bridge of helplessness, she could not escape. In other words, Rose had only one path left, to be reincarnated, rather than returning to this world as someone she was not. If she can't live, neither will you. Jack stood up and rushed to grab a sharp knife, then charged at me like a mad dog. At that moment, the cabin door burst open, and Sam appeared in the doorway, with police officers following closely behind him. "Watch out, Sarah." Before I could even react, Sam sprinted toward me, wrapping his arms around me and firmly shielding me with his body. There was no pain as I had imagined. I only felt protected by a solid wall of flesh. "Are you okay?" Sam looked at me anxiously. "I'm sorry I'm late." "No, you're bleeding." I reached for Sam's back, and a warm wetness soaked my palm. Sam shook his head. "I'm fine. It's okay." As soon as he finished speaking, he collapsed straight to the ground. Jack was taken away for the crime of intentional homicide. As he left, he gave me a sinister smile and mouthed the words, "There's still a long way to go. We'll meet again." I watched his retreating figure and said with certainty, "We Won't meet again, you beast. Long before this, I had already arranged for someone to thoroughly investigate Jack's company, including every employee from top to bottom. A logistics company, just an empty shell. The charge of intentional injury indeed doesn't carry a long sentence, ranging from 3 to 10 years. Jack held on to the hope that he might one day be released again. On the day of the trial, Jack appeared composed and at ease. Although he was wearing handcuffs, it didn't seem to affect him at all. It wasn't until our lawyer presented a thick stack of evidence that Jack clearly became flustered, looking helplessly at his own lawyer. Jack's lawyer was also clearly stunned. Did I pay you to keep silent? Speak up. Jack rose in a rage, pounding the table fiercely, making it thump loudly. Even the judge's gavel couldn't quell the man's anger. Defendant, please calm down. This is a courtroom. Order, order. The judge reminded him Jack was clearly out of control, screaming at everyone, completely unhinged, and was eventually forcibly removed. The evidence clearly documents Jack's actions over the past few years. However, there are some metaphysical aspects that, while insufficient to form a chain of evidence, are closely connected to everything. A few individuals with exceptionally strong life forces did not die immediately after being drained. Jack, undoubtedly unable to stay calm, directly had them taken care of. When the truth came to light, the victims' families could no longer remain silent. They collectively demanded a thorough investigation to seek true justice. This incident caused quite a stir in our local area, and for a while, public opinion was flying everywhere. No one could withstand such pressure, so orders were immediately given to get to the bottom of the matter. With both witnesses and material evidence solid, Jack received a death sentence as a gift. When I saw him again, he was unshaven, his hair had grown quickly and was messy like a homeless person's. His mental state had deteriorated, and he didn't even remember my name, but he still called out the name of the one he loved until his dying day. Rose, Rose, have you come to see me? I sneered. Yes, you'll soon be reunited in the underworld. Jack's self-righteous blessings were actually the evidence of his crimes leading him to hell, one after another. Enough to subject him to humiliation and torment after he descends. But for someone so wicked, death is not even a pity. How could one life ever make up for so many people? For the families shattered because of him, I spat out a curse. Good riddance. Extra one. In the hospital, Sam's wound is healing well. It wasn't very deep. It seemed like he had anticipated such a sudden situation and had taken protective measures in advance, but he still couldn't block the sharpness of the knife. I brought some fruits and snacks to visit him. Sam was sitting quietly, reading a book, and only looked up when he heard the door open. He smiled at me, very gently, just like when I first met Jack. How's the situation going? Sam asked. Pretty good, but it's a shame about those who died for no reason. If only we had discovered it earlier. So many families have been torn apart because of Jack's shady dealings, I said indignantly. Even though Jack will soon be gone from this world, his one life can't make up for the others he took. I handed over a peeled apple, and Sam took it and took a bite, only to notice that I was staring intently at him. Sam subconsciously touched his face. Why are you looking at me like that? Is there something on my face? I stared at him and asked, who exactly are you? Sam froze, his mouth still hanging open. What's wrong with you? I'm Sam, the man said with an awkward smile. I shook my head. You are Sam, and you are also a highly skilled wizard, but you are still someone else. Have we met a long time ago? I asked. Sam's eyes trembled uncontrollably, and it was this very trembling that confirmed my suspicion. How did you? Sam couldn't figure it out. At first, I really couldn't guess. I only knew that your calculations were accurate, that you were a talented young master, and I trusted you very much. I also wanted to resolve this calamity, but the key to the problem lies in. As I spoke, I stood up and began pacing around the room, adopting a somewhat Sam-like demeanor, looking quite mysterious and profound. Sam's gaze followed me the entire time. In what? It's about the money. The first 2 times I went live, I consciously included the shopping cart link for you to calculate, but when we met offline, you talked to me so much and even promised to help ward off my bad luck. Yet, after I left, you never mentioned a word about money. Of course, I could temporarily create a persona for you in my mind, that you're a kind person with a big heart, but I found a displayed birth chart on the small table beside you, and it was mine. I only gave it to Jack that day, not to you. I could still chalk it up to your profound skills and accurate calculations, but even metaphysics should align with common sense, shouldn't it? The day you saved me, I saw that necklace around your neck, and the photo on it was of me. As I said this, my body began to tremble. This involuntary reaction wasn't out of fear, but more like sorrow. My cheeks felt warm, and when I raised my hand to touch them, I realized they were wet with tears. Sam looked at me with a gaze full of concern. It feels as if there is an invisible bridge connecting us. Sarah, do you believe in reincarnation? Sam's voice trembled as well. I came here to save you. As soon as he finished speaking, it felt as if my head was struck hard by a club, and pain spread densely throughout my entire body. I clutched my head and cried out in agony. I seemed to be on the verge of remembering something, remembering those memories that were forcibly stripped away from me. Extra 2, Sarah and I have been together for 3 years, and our relationship has always been stable and happy until one day, after she attended a party, everything changed. She became cold and distant toward me, ignoring me and speaking with an icy tone. I thought she was upset because I didn't pick her up after the party, so I tried to comfort her, but the more I tried, the angrier she became, and we ended up in a pointless argument. No one even knew what the argument was really about. Sarah seemed to have grown a heart of iron overnight, turning a blind eye no matter how hard I tried to please her. I couldn't accept it and asked her what was wrong. She simply said, "I'm tired, Sam. I'm sick of the sight of your face." Naturally, I was not satisfied with this outcome. 3 years of feelings vanished just like that. Who could accept it? I kept waiting for her to come back, but all I got was seeing her arm in arm with another man. They were very intimate, very loving, and as they walked past me, she treated me like I was invisible. I was just a passerby who silently disappeared from her world. I started smoking, which I never did before, and drank the alcohol I hated the most, trying to numb myself, but after getting drunk one time, I couldn't control myself, drove under the influence, and crashed into a river. While waiting in line for reincarnation in the underworld, I saw that familiar name in the book of life and death. Cause of death, difficult childbirth. The judge sighed and said, another poor woman, whose fate was swapped by someone. She was supposed to have a smooth life. Unfortunate in love, unfortunate in love. At that moment, I realized she didn't suddenly change her heart. She was cursed by Jack with a love hex, making her eyes see only him and unable to tolerate anyone else, which is why she hurriedly broke up with me. I dropped the tea in my hand, the tea that was meant to cleanse the memories of my past life, and instead rushed toward the passage of rebirth. I want to live again, to return to her side. I want to save her. When I opened my eyes again, I had become Sam, a young and highly skilled wizard. I searched for her for 3 years and finally found her. Sarah, I'm here to save you. After hearing the second story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. Grandma is passionate about finding treasures in the garbage, rotten fruit, smelly slippers, toxic face masks. She picks them all up and brings them home. In her previous life, she found a gold necklace in a filthy ditch. I kindly reminded her that the gold necklace might be unclean and contaminated by chemicals, but she yelled at me. The next day, the gold necklace was gone. Grandma insisted that I had stolen it, and my parents beat me to death after finding out. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day Grandma found the gold necklace. Look how shiny this big gold chain is. I told you we could find good stuff outside. Once again, hearing my grandmother boast about the gold necklace around her neck, I knew I had been reborn. In my previous life, my grandmother found a gold necklace in a filthy ditch. Considering there was a large chemical plant nearby, I worried the necklace might be contaminated and kindly reminded her, only to be harshly scolded. The next day, the gold necklace was gone. My grandmother insisted that I was the one who stole it, and after my parents found out, they beat me to death. It wasn't until after I died that I learned it was actually my younger brother who stole the gold necklace and sold it for 500 yuan. After learning the truth, my parents not only didn't blame my brother but also praised him for being clever, saying he would surely become a business prodigy when he grew up. They used my insurance money to move into a clean, bright, big house, while my body was left to rot and stink in a dark, sunless sewer. In this second life, I will make everyone pay the price. I quietly took a few steps back, maintaining a safe distance from Grandma. Grandma, you're truly amazing. A couple of days ago, I heard an online expert say that wearing gold in one's zodiac year can ward off evil and ensure safety. I never expected you to get such a big, shiny gold necklace today. Grandma, it seems even heaven is protecting you. No other elderly lady has such good fortune as you do. Grandma, who usually believes the most in blessings and luck, immediately beamed with joy. She then turned around and pulled a box of face masks from her smelly treasure bag and tossed it to me. Since you're so well behaved today, I'll share some of my good fortune with you too. The facial mask's outer packaging is extremely exquisite, not only brand new and unopened, but also with a very fresh production date. It does look quite good. If only this facial mask hadn't been exposed by the media as being toxic. I gratefully accepted the facial mask and then casually reminded Grandma, the experts say that once you put on this gold necklace, you Must never take it off, or evil spirits will possess you and cause trouble. In serious cases, it could even cost you your life, not to mention, yours is a gift from heaven. Who knows how many people and spirits, both seen and unseen, are watching it. Grandma firmly believed what I told her. Clutching the gold necklace around her neck, she thanked heaven and earth. After a moment, as if she had thought of something else, she quickly returned to her room. When she came back to the living room, she had changed into a high-collared shirt, completely covering the gold necklace around her neck. She didn't forget to warn me, "If you dare say another word, I'll tear your mouth apart." Just as she finished speaking, Mom and my younger brother arrived home. My brother came into the room and plopped down on the sofa, playing mobile games while bossing me around. "Jenny, get me a glass of iced cola, wash some fruit and bring it over too." I suppressed my anger and did as I was told. I specifically picked up the fresh fruit that Grandma had just retrieved from the trash bin. Ever since my younger brother got sick from eating it last time, Dad has strictly forbidden Grandma from bringing home discarded fruit to eat. Although Grandma agreed verbally, she secretly continued to stash it in the fridge from time to time to avoid being caught by my dad. She would mix the scavenged pieces in with the fresh fruit or hide them in the corners of the refrigerator. I used to always pick the freshest pieces to cut for them to eat, which often resulted in rotten fruit appearing in the fridge from time to time, and I was frequently scolded for it. Now I understand that rotten people deserve rotten fruit. I deliberately arranged the parts with wormholes and those on the verge of spoiling on the fruit platter and brought it out. After that, I thoughtfully poured my brother a glass of cola that had been expired for half a year. He was completely absorbed in the game, not even looking up, shoving fruit and cola into his mouth. In just a couple of minutes, he had devoured the entire fruit platter by himself. He then flopped onto the sofa, fully focused on playing the game. Grandma and my mom watched him with affectionate smiles, not at all bothered by his lack of manners. After she had seen enough of her precious son, my mother's expression changed abruptly as she turned to glare at me angrily. She pointed at the box of face masks on the table and snapped, "I knew it. I was wondering where the 100 yuan change I left in my pocket yesterday went. It turns out you, this wretched brat, stole it again to buy these seductive things." After saying this, my mother picked up the box of face masks and threw it at my face. Seeing me dodge to the side, she grew even angrier and grabbed whatever was handy on the table, ready to throw it at me again. "Mom, I didn't steal the money. This face mask was just given to me by Grandma." I hurriedly tried to explain to her, but she wouldn't listen at all. I looked to Grandma for help. After hesitating for a moment, Grandma slowly spoke up to clarify, "I did just give this face mask to her. If you want one, I've saved 2 boxes for you. What's all this fuss about?" My mother's expression softened slightly, but she still wouldn't let it go. "Mom, even if you gave her the face mask, what about the 100 yuan she stole from me?" Upon hearing this, Grandma fell silent. As a result, my mother became even more unrestrained. She stood up and was about to hit me, but was knocked back onto the sofa by someone who suddenly sprang up from it. My brother was in such a hurry to run to the bathroom that he didn't notice the loose change in his pocket had fallen and scattered all over the living room floor. It was probably around 30 or 40, but his daily allowance is only 10. My mom obviously noticed this too. The atmosphere was a bit awkward for a moment. I picked up the money from the floor and handed it to my mom. "Mom, your money is here. You must have left it on the sofa earlier." My mom didn't say a word and could only take the money grudgingly. Everyone knew what was going on, but no one would point it out. I used to not understand, stubbornly trying to prove my innocence, but in the end, all I got was a beating. Grandma also started smoothing things over. All right, as long as the money is found. Look at this face mask I got for you. You couldn't buy it outside for less than 200 or 300. My mom said suspiciously. "Mom, is this face mask expired again?" She had used an expired face mask that Grandma had picked up before, and the next day, small rashes appeared on her face, which took over half a month to fade. "Mom, I checked. This face mask was just produced not long ago, and I heard from my classmate before that it works really well. It's just a bit pricey." After saying that, I held the face mask in my hands as if it were a treasure. My mom was indeed tempted. She picked up the face mask, turned it over and examined it again and again, and finally carefully placed it in her bag. She turned and saw that I still had 1 box in my hand, so she snatched it away directly. "Not focusing on your studies, always thinking about using these messy things. I'm going to see your grandmother tomorrow, so I'll take this box to let your aunt try it." After saying that, she glared at me fiercely and gave me orders. "You silly girl, what are you still standing here for? Why aren't you making dinner? Do you want to starve us to death?" I obediently went to the kitchen to make dinner, but in the end, no one got to eat it because my brother had a stomachache. The whole family didn't eat, and we all went in a big group to take him to the hospital. After the doctor examined him, he said it was acute gastroenteritis caused by eating unclean food. Given the severity of the situation, my brother was required to be hospitalized for observation. He was actually quite happy about it because it meant he could skip his final exams, but my father didn't see it that way and was furious, determined to find out who was responsible for his precious son's hospitalization. Naturally, I was the first one to be blamed. My mom preemptively raised her hand and slapped me, saying, "Your brother asked you to cut some fruit, and this is how you harm him, deliberately picking the rotten ones for him to eat. How could you be so malicious?" Hearing this, my dad immediately glared at me fiercely. Ready to confront me, I held back my tears and defended myself. The apples and pears I cut for my brother were the ones Dad brought home from work last night. They were fresh. Dad just ate some too, and he was fine. I don't know why my brother felt unwell after eating them. Hearing my explanation, my dad also realized that the fruit he had just bought and eaten without any issues couldn't have been tampered with by me. Suddenly, my dad seemed to think of something and turned to question my grandmother. "Mom, you didn't put any rotten fruit in the fridge, did you?" Hearing my dad's question, Grandma reacted like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, shouting, "What do you mean? Are you suspecting that I'd harm my precious grandson?" Then she started secretly wiping away tears, complaining to the heavens about her miserable fate, saying that she was old and unwanted, and went on and on with a long list of grievances. My dad was getting a headache from Grandma's nagging and was about to drop the matter. But then I gave him a new clue. Did my brother get sick because he ate fruit and then drank cola, mixing different kinds of food? Who bought him the cola? My dad has always disliked my brother drinking carbonated drinks like Sprite and cola, but my mom and grandma can't resist his whining and often secretly buy them for him. Both my grandma and mom glared at me fiercely. Grandma definitely won't admit it, and she probably forgot that a month ago she picked up an expired bottle of cola and stuffed it in the refrigerator, and my mom just bought Jason a new pack of cola yesterday, with 2 or 3 bottles still tucked away in various corners of the fridge. My dad will find out as soon as he checks. She can't get away with it. One is confident and assertive, the other is evasive with their eyes. How could my dad not understand what was going on? He immediately slapped my mom, ignoring my mom's resentful glare. I obediently apologized to my dad and promised to keep an eye on my brother to make sure he wouldn't drink soda again. My dad waved his hand and didn't give me any more trouble, having finally found an outlet for her anger. How could my grandmother let it go? She cursed and complained while slapping my mom a few more times to vent her frustration. My mother isn't one to be easily bullied either, so naturally she wouldn't just stand there and let her take advantage. Amid the pushing and shoving, the gold necklace around Grandma's neck gleamed brightly as it was revealed. "Mom, where did you get this gold necklace?" In this situation, trying to hide it would only seem deliberate. Grandma no longer hid the truth and explained the whole story clearly. After hearing it, my father only reminded Grandma to keep the gold necklace safe before going to the ward to see my younger brother. As for my mother, her eyes were greedily fixed on that gold necklace. Grandma shot her a fierce glare, and only then did she reluctantly avert her gaze. After a week in the hospital, my brother finally recovered and was discharged. I've been running back and forth between home and the hospital lately, and it's worn me out completely. When we arrived home carrying all our bags, we realized that Grandma hadn't gotten out of bed yet. I went to the bedroom to check and found Grandma lying in bed, her face pale and moaning softly. My dad said he would take her to the clinic, but she insisted on not going, saying she just caught a cold and would get better with some medicine. I stood at the bedroom door, coldly observing the scene inside. Only I knew that Grandma's current half-dead state was definitely related to that gold chain around her neck. I had seen in the news before that someone picked up a silver chain and wore it on their wrist. In less than a month, they were critically ill and hospitalized, had all their limbs amputated, but still didn't survive. Good advice is wasted on fools. She brought this upon herself. My father had to go back to work at the factory, so he didn't try to persuade her any further and left in a hurry after giving a few instructions. My mother was going to take my younger brother to celebrate my aunt's birthday later, so as soon as she got home, she rushed to get herself ready, putting on a face mask, wearing a new dress, curling her hair. If you didn't know better, you'd think she was going to crash the party, but it's good that she's busy. It keeps her from bothering me all day long. Ever since the cola incident, my mom has held a grudge against me every day. She nitpicks everything I do. The food is too salty, the rice is too hard, the clothes are wrinkled, the floor is dirty. She finds fault with everything I do and always finds a way to mess with me. I was hiding in the kitchen for a short break, but soon my brother called me to get him some ice cream. As I handed him the ice cream, he was making plans with his so-called friends to go to an internet cafe in the afternoon to play games. I just made $500 from my mom, I'll treat everyone this afternoon at the new internet cafe nearby. Coincidentally, my mother came out of the bedroom dressed up, and she seemed surprised to see me in the living room. With a fleeting look of unease on her face, before I could think it through, she quickly turned and headed to the entrance, putting on her shoes while urging my brother to go out. With them gone, I finally had some rare peace and quiet, spending the day comfortably lounging at home while scrolling through my social media feed. I saw that my mother had posted a birthday wish for my aunt in the afternoon, complete with the standard 9-grid photo layout. I originally didn't plan to waste time looking at the big picture, but suddenly I saw a comment. "How much did you pay for that gold necklace?" I heard from my friend that the price of gold has dropped a lot recently, and I'm thinking of buying one to wear too. I clicked into the picture and saw that the necklace my mom was wearing around her neck was indeed the one my grandma had picked up. Then, thinking back to my mom's expression before I left and Jason's comment about earning $500 from my mom, I suddenly understood everything. I glanced at the time. It was almost time for Dad to get off work. I took the medicine and entered Grandma's bedroom, helping her sit up to take it. Her eyes were half closed, and she could barely speak. After I fed her the medicine and water, she mumbled a few words and then wanted to lie down again. I feigned surprise. "Grandma, where is your gold necklace?" She wasn't quite awake yet. Hearing my question, she was stunned for a moment before raising her hand to touch her neck, only to find it empty. "Didn't I tell you, once you put on this gold necklace, you can't take it off? It was a gift from heaven." "I was just saying, you've been taking medicine all day, so why aren't you getting better?" Her half-closed eyes suddenly snapped open, and the person who had seemed half-dead moments before appeared to be having a sudden burst of energy. As if in a final rally, she frantically searched around the bed but found nothing. Realizing this, she suddenly seemed to lose all strength in her body. Slumping sideways and collapsing onto the bed, she stared blankly at the ceiling, muttering "it's over and over again." No matter how much I called out to her, she didn't respond. With such a big incident happening, of course, I had to call my dad. In less than 10 minutes, my dad rushed back. I explained the whole story to him. Seeing my grandmother in such a dazed state, my father was at a loss for what to do. I hesitated before speaking up. "Dad, Grandma is like this because her gold necklace is missing. Could you talk to Mom and ask her to lend her gold necklace to Grandma for now? We can return it to her once Grandma gets better." My father frowned deeply and said in a displeased tone, "What gold necklace does your mother have?" But I clearly, halfway through my sentence, I covered my mouth in denial. "Dad, I'm sorry. I must have seen it wrong, given my long-standing image of being obedient and sensible in front of my father. He naturally wasn't easily fooled. Under his persistent questioning, I showed him the comments on my mom's social media post. He zoomed in on the picture and examined it carefully, while I muttered softly beside him, "I feel like I've seen this gold necklace somewhere before." My father naturally noticed something was off, his face darkening as if it could drip with gloom. "Dad, don't be angry." I misspoke. Seeing that he remained silent, I continued to stir the pot. "This must be a misunderstanding. Grandma mentioned earlier that she wanted to give Mom a belated birthday gift. Maybe it's this gold necklace." Hearing this, my dad grew even angrier. What kind of person Grandma is? How could my dad not know? Giving Mom a gift? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. At that moment, my mom called. She was probably calling to ask where my dad was. Originally, he was supposed to go straight to my aunt's house for dinner after work, but I intercepted the call first. My dad hung up the phone without a second thought. After telling me to take good care of Grandma, he rushed out the door. I waited and waited, and it wasn't until 10 o'clock at night that the three of them returned. My father only had a few minor injuries on his face. As for my mother, her body was covered in bruises, and the skin on her face was red and ulcerated due to an allergic reaction. Disgusting and terrifying. As soon as she entered, she stared at me with a venomous glare. I thought she would grab me, hit me, and vent her anger, but she did nothing. Without a word, she followed my dad into the bedroom. My brother was still engrossed in his mobile game, acting as if nothing had happened. The moment he entered, he ordered me to help him with his tasks as usual. I took the opportunity to ask him about the situation. It turned out that my grandmother had also taken a liking to this gold necklace. She said she just wanted to take a look, but ended up putting the gold necklace around my uncle's neck. When my father rushed angrily to my aunt's house, he saw my drunken uncle bragging and showing off the gold necklace to others. How could he stand it? He immediately tore off all pretenses, but his uncle was no pushover either, insisting that once something is given, it shouldn't be taken back, and he simply refused to return it. Then the two sides started fighting. Finally, the police station stepped in to stop the fight, organized a mediation between the two parties, and the matter ended with both sides covering each other's medical expenses and My uncle returning the gold necklace. After this incident, our family and my uncle's side of the relatives completely fell out. Although grandma had the gold necklace back on, she seemed completely disoriented, as if she had lost her soul. My father had no choice but to hire a folk Taoist priest to perform a ritual for grandma. The Taoist priest fed my grandmother a secret talisman water, swearing to us that she would be back to normal by the next morning. However, when my father went to check on her the next morning, he found her body cold and lifeless. Grandma had passed away, so the gold necklace ended up back in my father's hands, but he never connected it to his grandmother's death. He was convinced that the Taoist's charm water was harmful, so he went to the Taoist every day to cause a scene, and in the end, the Taoist had to pay 100,000 to settle the matter. Coincidentally, a friend wanted to bring him into a business venture, and after a couple of drinks, my dad agreed without hesitation. The next day, he went to the company and resigned from his job. Joining the partnership requires an investment of 300,000, but after calculating the family savings, my dad realized we were short by 50,000. He searched all over the house but didn't find the money. Instead, he found several IOUs scattered together. They added up to exactly 50,000. All the IOUs were signed with my uncle's flamboyant signature. Previously, both parties could still save face, so it was not appropriate to keep pressing for the money to be repaid, but now things are different. My dad asked my mom to go to my uncle's house to ask for the money back, and if it isn't repaid within 3 days, he will file a lawsuit. My mom went to my uncle's house and didn't return until after dinner. In the living room, my mom walked over and sat on the sofa next to my dad, then took out 50,000 yuan in cash from her bag and placed it on the coffee table. He paid back the money so readily, which really doesn't seem like my uncle's usual style. My father frowned with displeasure. Could there be any counterfeit money in this? My mother smiled apologetically. How could that be? I saw him withdraw the money from the bank with my own eyes. Besides, where could he find so much counterfeit money in such a short time? He was afraid you might need cash, so he specifically went to the bank and waited in line to withdraw the money. My father snorted in displeasure and didn't respond, instead lowering his head to flip through the cash my mother had brought back. My mother sat nearby, lingering without leaving, occasionally glancing at me with a look of hesitation. My intuition told me that whatever she was about to say must have something to do with me. Sure enough, the next moment I heard her speak up. Honey, the family is in need of money right now. Where would we get the extra cash to support that useless girl? I say it's better to just marry her off. My dad paused his hand from counting the money and didn't say a word. My mom thought there was a chance and continued. When I went to my brother's place today to talk about repaying the money, I happened to run into an aunt from the neighboring village. She's looking for a wife for her son and said she could offer a 50,000 yuan bride price. Before my dad could say anything, I laughed first. Mom, the standards in your hometown are really outdated, aren't they? Are they still living in the last century? 50,000 yuan, what's the difference between that and giving it away for free? My mother glared at me and immediately complained to my father. Look at this brat, she's read a few books and really thinks she's somebody now. They're already showing you a lot of respect by offering 50,000. They originally said they'd only give 30,000, but I had to haggle for a long time just to get them to agree to 50,000. She probably forgot that last year I ranked first in the county and got into university, earning nearly 100,000 in various rewards. It was only because of that money that my father allowed me to attend college, trying to sell me off for just 50,000. She really doesn't want to make a loss on this deal, does she? I sneered. Do you know that in my freshman year alone, I transferred 50,000 to my family, scholarships, grants, tutoring, part-time jobs, every day. Aside from studying, I was frantically making money, because only by doing so would my father be tempted by the money to let me continue my education. I lied to him, saying that college graduates fetch a higher bride price because they're smart and have good genes, and that wealthy upstarts love to marry such women. An 888,000 dowry, a luxury house, and a fancy car would be no problem. I lied to him, saying that marrying a wealthy man would allow me to better support my brother and help our family in the future. My mother stammered and couldn't get a word out. I continued. If you give our family 50,000, what about Uncle's family? For Uncle's family, my mom only realized it halfway through her sentence. I'm guessing, did Uncle's family take at least 50,000? Otherwise, how would Uncle have the money to pay back the 50,000 to our family? No, Uncle just had a falling out with my dad recently. If he had a chance to take a sum of money from our family, he wouldn't just take 50,000, 80,000, 100,000. I asked with a laugh. Mom, am I right? My dad didn't give her a chance to argue. He picked up the ashtray beside him and threw it at her head. Blood covered her eyes, and she writhed on the ground in pain, howling, but she still refused to admit it. I took the phone out of her bag and happened to see the latest message from my uncle. "Sis, just a small token of appreciation. Use it to buy a free-range chicken to eat." Then he sent a red envelope. I didn't open it and directly showed it to my dad. Besides the chat history, the transfer records are also worth my dad taking a closer look at. Over the years, my mom has secretly given money to my uncle behind my dad's back. Just in the past 6 months, the transfers on WeChat alone have amounted to almost 10,000 yuan. You should know that my mom's monthly salary is only 3,000 yuan, and this 3,000 yuan has to cover most of the household's daily expenses. Even so, she could still save money to give to my uncle. That's true love, however. While my dad could ask me to support my brother, he absolutely could not tolerate my mom supporting hers. What a shame, with all the new and old grudges piling up during this time. My dad threw his phone down and began punching and kicking my mom, who was curled up on the floor. She kept begging for mercy, shrinking her body as she tried to back away, but it was useless. The fists continued to rain down on her. She had nowhere to escape and could only look at me. This couldn't help but remind me of my previous life, in this very living room, where I was beaten to death by my father. Back then, I had begged my mother too. I thought all mothers loved their children, but I was wrong. She coldly shook off my hand seeking help, kicked me several times with force, and complained that the blood on my hands had stained her new dress. You see, karma is a cycle, and retribution never fails. My dad drank a lot with friends outside tonight and hit harder than usual. By the time he finally stopped, exhausted from hitting, my mom was already motionless. He didn't even look, and staggered back to his room. I checked my mother's breath and realized she had already stopped breathing. The area where she was lying was covered in blood. It was filthy, but now is not the time to clean up. I walked past her and went straight back to my room. In the middle of the night, my brother came back from an internet cafe after gaming, and as he entered the dark room, he unsurprisingly tripped over the corpse in the living room. His face plunged directly into the pool of blood. His screams echoed throughout the entire building. He was so scared that he immediately dashed outside, shouting someone's dead. As he ran, he didn't even close the door when he fled. By the time I opened the bedroom door and came out, a crowd had already gathered at my doorstep. The police officers responded very quickly. When my dad was taken away, he was still in a daze. By the time he came to his senses, he was already handcuffed. It is an indisputable fact that he beat the person to death, and despite his desperate attempts to justify himself, it was of no use due to the severity of the circumstances. My father was sentenced to life imprisonment. When I went to see him, he was not in a good state. He didn't say much, only repeatedly urging me to take good care of my younger brother. I responded half-heartedly. In September, when school started, I returned to continue my studies, while my younger brother was sent to our grandmother's house. The death of our mother and our father's imprisonment seemed to have no effect on him. For him, it's just a change of scenery to play on his phone. He thought his grandmother valued him, but in reality, she just wanted to help his uncle get more money from him. He is pitifully foolish. I silently wish in my heart that he can live a little longer. After the semester started, I threw myself into my new life, studying and working part-time, making every day fulfilling. It wasn't until winter that I heard news from my hometown again. I learned from a high school classmate that a severe campus brawl had recently occurred in our small county, resulting in 1 death and 3 serious injuries. The classmate heard that the student who was beaten to death was my brother and specifically messaged me to ask. I called to confirm with my grandmother, but no one answered the phone. I guess it must be true. Over the weekend, I made time to go back to my hometown. I heard that my grandmother was dissatisfied with the compensation and had been taking my brother's body to petition and cause trouble every day. I didn't have time to join in the commotion. After getting off the train, I took a taxi straight to the prison to see my dad. It had been almost half a year since I last saw him. He looked much older, was constantly coughing, and didn't seem to be in good spirits. After being arrested, he wasn't wearing that gold necklace anymore, which ironically saved him and allowed him to live this much longer. "Where's your brother? Why didn't you bring him along?" Seeing that I was the only one, the disappointment in his eyes was obvious. My eyes were red, and I remained silent. Seeing this, he anxiously pounded the table inside. "Where is your brother? I'm asking you, where is your brother? Say something." I tearfully told him the news of my brother's death, such a big thing, and Grandma and the others didn't even tell me. They wouldn't answer my calls either. If it weren't for my classmate asking me about it, I would probably have been kept in the dark the whole time. And Grandma still hasn't buried my brother. She drags his body around every day to demand compensation. How could I possibly stop them, Dad? I don't know what to do either. Impossible, impossible, impossible. He was extremely agitated, crying and laughing like a madman. The prison guards had a hard time restraining him. The meeting was forced to end, and as he was being taken away, he kept shouting that he would kill them. On the way back to school, the rain stopped, the clouds cleared, and the sky brightened. I thought, today must be a beautiful day. I didn't plan to go home for the winter break and applied to stay at the school, but in the end, I had to go back because of a phone call. My father committed suicide in front of my brother's memorial altar on the day of my brother's burial. The prison approved my father's request to pay his respects. Seeing my father arrive, my uncle hypocritically stepped forward to comfort him. The next second, my uncle was slashed in the throat with a blade he had been hiding in his hand, dying on the spot. He laughed maniacally. You all deserve to die, all of you. He, most of all. After saying this, my father committed suicide, losing her son in old age. My grandmother fell seriously ill and passed away within a week. I had always wondered whether my uncle ever felt even the slightest bit of guilt when he wore that gold necklace, but with the price of my life, I suppose he did not. So they all deserve to die. Pretty good. It was worth the wait. Finally, everyone got what they deserved. After hearing the stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.